So, welcome everyone to the Thinking Out Loud podcast. For today's episode, this is the first episode that we are recording, and for that, we have Mr. Prashant Desai here with us. Thank you so much, Prashant, for being here. And I think one commonality between the three of us, that is me, Samyak, and you, is that all three are from Calcutta. So,
Good.
very big commonality to begin with.
Yes.
So, Prashant, not wasting any time and starting off from the very onset. So, Prashant, we studied your entire career from Calcutta to St. Xavier's to CA to Future Group in the investment arm, then starting up, then content creation, then again heading investments at Burger King. So, how has that journey been like? Was it something that you always planned on being there, or was it serendipity that took place? How was it?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I had planned, but I have learned in life that you just need to keep moving ahead, have a broad direction in place, and somewhere, I always believe that the journey is probably more important than the destination. And as long as my bigger take has been that as long as I am enjoying the journey, I will keep moving ahead on the path. Having said that, for me, for the journey to be enjoyable, money was a very important part. So a lot of the things that I did in my life from a career standpoint, whether it was becoming a chartered accountant, whether it was joining stock markets way back in 91, 92, whether it was moving to Mumbai, whether it were the number of job changes that I did in Mumbai. Everything, if there is one thing that could connect all the dots, that was the need and the want to make more money, more wealth, and all of that. And I would just say that I am a half marathoner. I would still say I am on my fifth kilometer, both from the journey perspective and even from a wealth creation perspective. So, अभी picture बाकी है मेरे दोस्त.
No, I agree. Like the point you mentioned, that obviously the one thing which is behind our minds is always that we want to create wealth, we want to make a lot of money, and that's why we kind of start ventures, join different companies, and then try to move out to as many opportunities as we could get. So I totally agree to what you're saying. And in between also, you're like, obviously you have been very vocal about it as well, that you had a venture and you have written a book on it, and it's right behind you. I can really see it. So just want to know the idea behind writing this book. What were you trying to depict in terms of writing this book, and like what was the idea as to why did you want to kind of write and show everyone that you also want to show stories about a venture which failed. So like generally people is always write about I've succeeded here, books are on success, but you took the other way and wrote this book. So what was the idea behind it?
So both Samarth and Samyak, for this question, the answer will be little longer, so bear with me. I would also want your listeners to kind of bear with me. So at the big picture perspective, you guys probably today may not relate to it. Yesterday I was up until 4 o'clock. I was doing a course in US, which was around wisdom and how wisdom helps people live longer. And one of the things that they shared is our brain, takes its own time to develop or to grow, and wisdom comes after experience. As I write in my book, that there is a quote in Rakesh Jhunjhunwala's office that good judgment comes from experience and experience comes from bad judgment. So it's only when you reach a certain probably age or certain development from a neuroscience perspective, there is something that kind of changes in your brain. And why I'm sharing this before getting to the real reason why I wrote this book is, after a point, you tend to become a little more less self-obsessed. You become a lot more less careful about how other people are going to view you. Your life, to a large extent, becomes your own, right? And I have something called as a deathbed philosophy, that when you die, and if somebody were to ask you, what is it that you regret? I don't want to live with any regrets, right? So, my entrepreneurship venture called Defy, which was a truly Indian sports brand, I was extremely and deeply passionate about it. And along with my business partner Rajiv Mehta, in our view, we left no stone unturned. We were probably among the only Indian sports shoe brand which had a design center in Portland in US, which was about what about 15 minutes from Nike's headquarters. Our designers were, one was an ex Nike designer, one was an ex New Balance designer. So we kind of did a lot of things there correctly. We had a development center in China. We made shoes in the same factory where Skechers used to make. We actually wanted to build a brand. We had Farhan Akhtar, Hardik Pandya. We signed in Hardik Pandya just after the Mumbai Indians 2017 win, and just before he got inducted into the T20 team. Today he is what he is. So we thought we done everything right. We opened 17 retail store in 17 cities. As a brand, both Myntra and Amazon wanted to do an exclusivity with us. We partnered with with Amazon. A lot of things went right, and yet everything went wrong. And you it just kind of humbled us. We were so arrogant when we were at the peak of what we were doing. We thought we had probably nailed it. In a poker analogy, we probably thought we had a straight flush in our hand. We went all in, and not realizing that the first two cards have not yet been opened. There is no river yet been opened. No flop yet been opened. Uh, and as rightly so, the customer told us a very different story, and the venture collapsed. And I write in the book that it took me almost 24 years to make 30 crores, and I lost 30 crores in 30 months. So that was the velocity of the fall of my venture. And such was the velocity of the fall. And like most people, the first phase when I lost so much of money was complete denial. I didn't even want to admit that I had done anything wrong. I thought that the whole universe had conspired against Prashant Desai to ensure that he fails in his venture. Luckily for me, because life has dealt me such cards that I had no choice to move forward. So it helped me move forward. So I shut down the venture on 31st of August 2019, and 7th September I had joined Everstone Capital as part of their exits business. And one of the businesses that they asked me to take public was a company called Burger King. And I got busy with Burger King, and sometimes when you get busy, your mind has a tendency to hide the loss in a inaccessible folder. And as luck would have it, COVID hit us in March of 2020. And when India went into the first lockdown during COVID, all of us had a lot of time in hand, right? I just joined the firm, so I didn't have too many responsibilities. And I would sit in my house, watch Netflix, read books, do a lot of other stuff. And I think subconsciously something, the whole Defy episode of losing so much of wealth in such short period of time kept hitting me back. I would also see my daughters playing then, and I don't know, somewhere deep within, I came to terms with it that it was not my wealth that I lost. It was actually the wealth of my daughters that I had lost. I had massacred their future. And one thought led to the other, and I said, at least I owe it to them to start writing down why their dad failed, how their dad massacred their wealth. And it just began with journaling. And at the first phase, when I started writing, I like to write. I was still at a very, very superficial level. So I would say I failed because, I did not start the venture for the right reason. For example, I started the venture only to create wealth. Normally, you start a business if you are passionate about something. about the product, about the service. Is there a problem that you see in the world that you want to solve? And you end up starting a venture. But in my case, the starting the venture was to add one more zero to my net worth. But this was still very superficial. The question I started asking then made a lot more sense. It took me very, very deep. And I said, why did I want to make so much of money? Why was I so greedy about creating wealth? It took me to my childhood. I was born very poor. I lost my father when I was 7 years old. Samarth, your dad and I have grown up together. He knows how poor we were. All of this had kind of left a very yucky feeling growing up. And somewhere, one thing when I was growing up, I was very clear is that come what may, I will not be poor again. Whatever happens, I cannot be poor again. And that thought carried with me even when I started my venture. It's like a compounding effect on the greed that took place. So when I went that levels deep, I could explain to my daughters what my childhood was, what that childhood had done to me, and why I made that mistake. I write about 10 such mistakes in my book. So what happened is the journey started as a letter to my daughters. I have always been in research in my life. I started my career as an equity research analyst. And as an analyst, the thing that you want to do is you look for benchmarks, right? And I started wanted to see entrepreneurs like me who had failed and who had written about themselves very honestly. And I went into, because during the first lockdown we had a lot of time, so I started googling, looking for such stories. And to my surprise, as you both guys rightly said, success is celebrated over the world. Failure is looked down upon. People are hesitant to talk about their mistakes, and there are a lot of things written about why a particular business failed, but nobody who actually failed wrote about them. These were the external manifestations by other people of, for example, why a particular business would have failed. So you know about Theranos, right? Elizabeth Holmes. She failed, but Elizabeth Theranos never wrote about why she failed, what led her to do all kind of stuff that she had done. And I was kind of surprised. So I started doing a lot more work on why people don't write about failures, why people don't write about mistakes. And that's where I chanced about reading a brilliant book called Being Wrong by Catherine Schultz. And I think it's like a Bible on mistakes, on the psychology of mistakes. And that kind of opened up a lot of things for me. I started understanding why people are hesitant to write about mistakes. And she writes in that book that we as a society, we shame mistakes. Mistakes are not looked down upon, are looked down upon. In school, we are punished for making a mistake. So it starts at a childhood level, even in my home or your homes. If we make a mistake, so there are two kinds of mistakes, right? Mistakes which I would not even call mistake, but sin. Today we read in papers about young women getting raped. I don't think it's a mistake; it's a sin. So if you take those kind of mistakes out, but there are mistakes that you do when you're trying to grow, trying to learn. Whether it's in our house, whether it's in our school, we get punished for that, right? You write a wrong answer, the teacher will punish you, not knowing that it was her or his responsibility to teach you the subject, not your responsibility, and stuff like that. You are asked to stand on the bench, you are publicly shamed. The whole society has now rallied around this, where mistakes are looked down upon by society. And what happens as a result of this is something very, very interesting. You will never hear somebody will say that I was wrong. It will always be I was wrong, but they don't realize English language. The moment you use the word but, the preface gets deleted in the reader's mind. So when you say I was wrong, but what are you doing? You are doing two things. You are one, trying to defend yourself. And number two, you are trying to blame your mistakes on somebody else. And it kind of took me to a very, very deep, dark space as to how this society is. I interact a lot with Andrew Huberman. He's the head of neuroscience at Stanford, and he also talks about it that our brain is a deleting device. Every single moment we get thousands of thoughts. Our brain cannot remember everything, right? The brain has to choose what it wants to remember, and mistakes are things that brain doesn't want to remember. So what the brain does is brain puts all these mistakes in an inaccessible folder so that you can't go and reach out. And once it goes deep into your unconscious, you don't want to remember them. And when I reflected back on my life, Samarth and Samyak, I realized that because I lost my father very early on in my life, my biggest teacher, my biggest guru has been mistake. When you don't have a father figure, who do you learn from? You only learn by making mistakes. And for me, mistakes subconsciously was like a father I never had. And here I was seeing society was shaming my father, was looking down upon my father. And the rebel inside me said, no, I want to change this. I want mistakes to be celebrated. More importantly, I want people to share their mistakes because mistakes has a superpower to teach. And that's where I kind of started looking at writing this book with only one condition or one thought, which was that I will write this book with absolute honesty. Because if I want to change, the place that the mistakes has is in society, I will have to start first. Gandhiji said, right, be the wish you want to, be the change you want to see. I wanted to see that change in society, so I said, okay, let me go ahead and talk about my mistakes. So my book got written with that thought. So I talk about two things. I say there are two whys I wrote that book. One is what I call as the small why, and one is a big why. The big why is what we discussed is to get mistake its rightful place in the society. So each one of us will celebrate mistakes. Tomorrow, when your parents make a mistake, when your friends make a mistake, we don't look down upon them. We support them. We see to it that they learn through that mistakes. So that was my big why. And my small why obviously was I start the book with my small why through a quote by Warren Buffett that it's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's better to learn from somebody else's mistakes. That's Warren Buffett said that, and I joke about that. Uh, you know, so there is this. I don't know if your audience is going to be Indian or non-Indian, but if you watch this movie Guru by Abhishek Bachchan, where he portrays the character of Dhirubhai Ambani, and towards the end of the movie, there are a lot of cases against him on excise duty and export and stuff like that. And everybody talks. Dhirubhai Ambani answers that question, but doesn't really go and represent its point. And in the last, he said, uh, can I say something?" And Roshan tells him, "Yes, I'm giving you 15 minutes. Whatever you want to say, please complete in 15 minutes." And Dhirubhai gives us his monologue with by Abhishek Bachchan. Beautiful. And then in the end he says that आपने मेरे को 15 मिनट दिए थे मैंने 10 मिनट में खत्म कर दिया 5 मिनट profit. So that 5 minute was the profit. I hope that my book is the profit for other people to benefit from my mistakes. I hope it helps people not make the same mistakes, they make their own mistakes. So that was a long answer as to why I wrote my book.
Like excellent analogies, like four five things which I learned directly from the conversation is one, obviously as you grow and you experience life you become like a lot more humble. The second one being that whenever we make a mistake we are always in like denial mode, right? We don't tend to accept it, and as we introspect we kind of then realize that yeah, it might have been my mistake or whatever. The third one being from childhood we are taught that we are not allowed to make a mistake. That's like a mental kind of model that has come up. Like whenever we are making mistakes, we are either hit, we are punished, and obviously, lastly, that make mistakes. Like there's nothing wrong in showing that you've made mistakes. Rather support everyone and kind of move on, or learn from it and experience more. So excellent analogies, and really appreciate sharing the entire experience with us.
Thank you, guys.
So Prashant, just as a follow-up question, right? So essentially, you spoke about your book, your learnings, your failed venture. But one thing that I don't know most of your audience knows about this or not, but Samyak and I have specifically looked into a lot is your content creation journey. And I think that and the book went on in a very paralleled fashion, right? And we don't see a lot of senior folks in the industry who are at your level who take out time to make content and also in terms of reels on Instagram, informative reels, right? And the most surprising part is that when you were again at the peak of your creation journey, I remember you put out a post on LinkedIn saying that I'm taking a break from this and I'm pausing all my content creation gigs at this moment. So how did that happen? Like how did the book, the content creation, and then again when you were at your zenith, you were like, let's take a pause. So that is something that I found very interesting.
So first, Samyak and Samar, thank you for being so kind to talk so nice about my content. Really appreciate it. Uh, and I also have that I would use the word complaint, but I am just looking forward to many more people sharing. I recently did a course by Tony Robbins and Dean Grazios called Project Next, and where both of them kind of share that each one of us has something to teach to the world, to give back to the world. And we always sometimes struggle with the fact that what I want to give back to the society or to the world, does the world need it? Is there a need for something like this? And a lot of people don't even venture into this because they feel what they have to share is not worthwhile. I completely disagree. Every single person has something to share, and every single person has something to learn from somebody else. And I hope over a period of time, more and more people will come forward and share. It's very similar to what we spoke about mistakes, right? It's only when you share, the other person will learn from it. So that's my first take as to why people. Second, I think somewhere it's a lack of confidence. A lot of people feel that they are not good writers. A lot of people feel they are not very good at public speaking. A lot of just people feel that the whole social media space is made for youngsters. And today at 50, I can vouch that none of that is true. All these are absolute myth. Social media doesn't care on the quality of your English. It cares about the authenticity of your content. If there is something that you've really felt from within and you share, it doesn't matter how you share it, in what language, what words you use, what grammar you use. People will connect with it. People will appreciate that. Public speaking is like when I started my running journey way back in January of 2013. First day I showed it at the beach in Bombay to start my journey as a runner. I could not run more than 300 meters, and I was out of breath. And in September, I ran my first half marathon. So, you always have to start small, and a little by little, a little becomes a lot. So all I will tell people is start by writing 2 lines, start by writing 5 lines. You will soon realize that you will keep getting better. I was yesterday watching a Virat Kohli Ranji Trophy match of 2000, I think 9 or 10, and you see Virat batting. You will say, how can this guy play for the country, right? But that's what it is. You have to show up every day. You have to do knocking on the balls like a Virat Kohli. If you are willing to do that, believe me, you all of you will become much better. And I saw that in my journey when I started my personal Insta, YouTube channels on personal finance. I used to call it, frankly speaking, finance. I was just sharing my learnings of 25 years, and very honestly, and I was sharing with a very, very strong intent, because I believe creating wealth in India is such a big need, and it is such a misinformed space. In my first video, I talk about it, that as a country, we are brilliant at saving money. Today, when you look at financial influencers in America or in Europe, Germany, a lot of their content is around how to teach people to save money. In India, we don't have to teach people to save money. We are already saving a lot of money. But we have another problem. 95% of our savings is in fixed deposit or savings deposit, which is making the owner of this fixed deposit and savings deposit poor every single day. Because a fixed deposit gives you 5%, 6% return, savings deposit gives you 3% return. On top of that, there is tax, and inflation today is 7 to 8%. 7 to 8% is the inflation that you see. I was reading an article yesterday. The medical inflation in India is today 20%. Travel inflation is 40%. So if you look inflation under the hood, every single day you are becoming poorer. And all you have to do is move this 95% or a portion of this 90%, 95% from savings to stock markets. And suddenly you will see we will become a very wealthy nation. But we don't do that. So through that, I started my channel. People resonated with it. Mind you, there are some mind-boggling influencers on Insta on the world of finance, very young. They do their content very differently. I was a 50-year-old guy. I did not want to do the content that they wanted to do. What they did was suited them. What I did was had to suit me. So I started my journey in my own way. It took time. It took me to get 5,000 followers in about 6 months' time. But then from 5,000 to 30,000, it happened in 2 months' time. So my journey has been a fascinating one. But one constant feedback and the request that I was getting, Samarth and Samyak on my DMs, was a lot of people thought that what I was talking, because my Insta profile mentioned ex Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and Everstone Capital, a lot of what I was telling, people started interpreting that as not my views, but they were either views of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala or they were views of my firm, which I think was not fair, because there was an inherent conflict. Because my work and my personal finance, Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube profiles were somewhere kind of conflicting. I think I owed it to them to remove that conflict. So for no other reason did I stop that. But now I have something which I want to break on your channel. I am restarting my entire social media profile. I am restarting this, but not on finance. I am restarting this on something that has currently taken me to a very different zone, which I have kind of now gathered a lot of knowledge, read a lot of books on this. I just started writing about this on my LinkedIn. I have now got a formal permission from my firm to kickstart my entire social media across Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and that subject is called longevity. So I am now a biohacker. Uh, as you will see, I am wearing a continuous glucose monitor. My Whoop watch is currently getting charged. I take a lot of supplements which will help you live longer, but healthier and disease free. So now I am on a mission with a very, very strong purpose, which is to make Indians live 100 plus, but healthier, younger, and disease free. There is a massive amount of science. Humanity has now decoded why we humans age at a cellular level and why we don't have to age. What all of us can do today to kind of slow down aging, and sometimes in nature future even reverse aging. And this is where the magic happens. If we are able to slow down aging, what is aging? Aging is today, if you ask me what is my age, I will give you, I am 50. I'll ask you, Samarth, Samyak, what are your ages? Tell me.
I'm 28.
And I'm 24. Biological. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, exactly, Samarth. Most of the time when you ask somebody, they give you what they call is a chronological age. This is from the time you were born till now measured in terms of years. But there is something inside, which is our inner age, our true age, or our biological age. And the biological age and the chronological age uh, are always at divergence. Very few times they are together, or your biological age is lower than your chronological age. Let me give you an example. I am 50. Let's say my biological age is 55. And the average lifespan in India is 70 years, which means I will live up to 70 years. So if I measure it from from my chronological age, I have 20 years left. So I will die in 20 years. But if my biological age is 55, I will die in 15 years. So I will not die at 70, I will die at 65. Now if I don't want to die at 65, but I want to die at 70 or 75, I will have to do something. Science has now decoded a lot of the things you and I can do today. You know, Varun, something very interesting. I was driving my car yesterday, and I was seeing the dashboard of my car. If you go back to the car, my first car, where I used to live, Samarth in Nilkamal building an ambassador, the dial did not tell me anything, but what was my speed and what was my petrol. Today, you look at the dial of a car and any car, the amount of health statistics it gives you about your car is just mind boggling. From your tire pressure to a puncture to brake oil to clutch oil to the coolant to what's working in the car, engine health. Today, it's sad that humanity knows more about its car and less about its own health. And that is what I want to change. I want to first uh, educate you on what is aging. I want to then measure you. Then I want to help you monitor yourself and then upgrade yourself. So yes, sad that I had to shut down my frankly speaking finance, Insta, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. But now I am back, and I am back with a new purpose, which is to help humanity or Indians live 100 plus and 100 plus younger, longer, disease free.
That is absolutely mind-boggling. And just to give an FYI, even I used the ultra-human patch that you just showed, and the kind of capabilities just a continuous glucose monitoring platform is also having is insane. Like the statistics and all that it shows, it's amazing. And I also saw that you have changed your LinkedIn bio, the headline to longevity biohacker. So that is also something that I saw very recently. So I mean, not just me, but everyone who would be listening to this podcast would be, awaiting your new content style, a new Prashant Desai in the making.
Thank you.
I think I'll look forward to it the most because I am not very fitness freaky type of guy. I eat a lot and I think I should change that. So I'll really look forward to your content and I think
No,
that
no,
might be
so I was saying, Samyak, it is not so much about just food or exercise or sleep or the air that you breathe. My bigger intent is to change people's mindset because it's very interesting, right? If you don't believe you will live longer, you will not live longer. So a lot of things that I am attempting to do is to first because mankind has never lived longer, right? If you span our history to billions of years, average the human used to live was 30, 40 years. 200 years until about 100 years back, also the average human lifespan was 30, 40 years. We as humanity have doubled that. Today, on average, a human lives 70 to 80 years. The quantity of life has come up, the quality of life has come down. And the idea is this: I want to take this quantity further, but I want to take the quality even further. I jokingly say that I just don't want to be alive for my granddaughter's wedding. I want to be dancing at my granddaughter's wedding. So yes, as I said, it's a journey that is extremely critical and important to me. So for me, that if you've seen that movie or read the book, The Pursuit of Happiness, it is less about happiness and more about the pursuit. So for me, it's all about making people enjoy the journey, enjoy the pursuit. Because my view is if they will enjoy the journey, the pursuit towards living longer, healthier, disease free, they will all live longer, disease free.
no, absolutely. I'm looking forward to your content really very soon. Like can't wait, honestly. So just have I think last couple of questions for you. One is how obviously you said that you lost your father at the very like at the age of 7. So your relationship with money has not been great growing up, and that's why you wanted to kind of have make a lot of money and never live that kind of life. But then like you obviously had a lot of money, then you had this venture. Then like what is your definition of financial freedom when I say ask you about your relationship with money at this point of time, or maybe when you started your venture, at what age or at what point of time you would have been like, okay, I have got my financial freedom, so I don't need to work, but I need to work to enjoy life, something like that.
So there are a lot of definitions of financial freedom, Samyak and Samarth, but I am amongst the very few Indians who are trained in something called as flow. Flow, the godfather of flow is a psychologist called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and a lot of work on flow has been done by a gentleman called Stephen Kotler through the Flow Research Collective. And flow has a scientific definition. Flow is an optimal state of consciousness where you feel your best and you perform your best. I am trained in flow. I train people in flow. What essentially you are saying is, and all of us experience flow. Remember that conversation you had with your friend or your girlfriend or your parents, where you suddenly 2 hours go away like 2 minutes. You just don't remember time went by. Uh, Flow is sometimes when you do something which is something you feel so effortless about it. Sometimes when you are so focused, your attention is so much at a peak that you are in your zone. In runners, we call that as a runner's high. When we are in a rhythm, we forget everything around us, right? That's flow. Now, why am I talking about flow and financial freedom, right? So for me, financial freedom is something which allows me to do something that I want to do with all my heart, with all my love. A lot of youngsters like you come to me for counseling in terms of career and stuff like that, and I keep telling them, do something that you love. Why? Because when you do something that you love, it will not feel like work. It will feel like fun. Now, when is it? Do you think you were most happiest? In your childhood, when you were playing with your friends, when you didn't care a shit about anything else, right? When you were that innocent, when you were playing, you were enjoying it thoroughly. Now just imagine if you fast forward, what if your work would give you that same feeling, that same emotion? So I always tell people, do the work that you love. But I am a realist, right? How many of us can get the work that we want to do, that we love? First, it takes you a while to even realize what do you love when you work. For me, I realized that I loved stock markets, but I loved telling stories about stocks. That at the core, I was a storyteller. You would have got some glimpses when I talk, right? I have a way to communicate, to tell stories. It's only when Kishore Biyani hired me and when I went in front of investors all over the world and how I would communicate to them the whole pantaloon story in a certain manner. I started working in 1995. I joined Kishore Biyani in 2003. In 2003, I was 31 years. So it took me 31 years to figure out that I love stock markets or finance and I love storytelling. Some may figure it out early, some may figure out later. Some may not even be able to figure out. Some may even be able to figure out that this is what I love, but I still have to work. I still have to do something that I don't love because I have to get the meter going, because I have to eat, I have to travel, I have to take care of my family, I have to plan for a future, and so on and so forth. So for me, the definition of financial freedom is something that will make you do what you love without worrying about this. Some people achieve financial freedom by actually working either or doing something that they love. For me, that's good enough financial freedom because you are happy. You are in a state of consciousness where you are feeling your best, where you are performing your best. So to me, it doesn't matter financial freedom is not a wealth metric, it's an emotional metric. The freedom to make you do what you love to do, to make you feel satisfied when you go to sleep at bed. Yaar, maza aaya. Day was well spent. Carpe diem. It was a great day. So for me, that definition, but realistically speaking, for a lot of people, that definition is tied to something from their wealth perspective. And if you honestly ask me, I achieved technically my financial freedom when I started working with Kishore Biyani. But my absolute financial freedom, a number which doesn't force me to do something that I don't want to do in terms of work, I think I achieved 5 years back.
Lovely perspective, so as to say that financial freedom is not just about like wealth, money, but it's about what you love as well. So yeah, I really like that concept. Maybe this will also help me kind of introspect and see whether what I am doing today is worthwhile, or whether I'm like actually enjoying it in the way, or am I just doing it for the
Sorry to interject, Samyak, but one more thing I wanted to share with your listeners, and I'll give you an example of a person called Chirag Negandhi. Chirag today is the CEO for Axis Capital. He's my very, very close friend. He's 7 to 8 years younger. And why I'm interjecting and giving Chirag's example is Chirag is not a CA, he is not an MBA. Chirag is a pure BCom graduate. And Chirag, by chance, got into stock markets. He was a friend of mine who used to run an education institute where he was counseling people to take them to the US and the UK to get further education. But somebody used to like trading. And I just told Chirag, "Yaar, if you like trading so much, why don't you become a little more intelligent about stock markets?" And he knew somebody at Inam, and he went and joined Inam in the research department. He suddenly realized, yeah, I just love doing research. I just love the stock markets, not just the art part of it, the science part of it. He went on to become head of research. Then he went on to become head of equities. Now he's the CEO for entire Axis Capital. And I tell this to people. Say Samyak is a MBA from Harvard. Samarth is an All India gold medalist. And Prashant Desai is a BCom, right? All of us will get some opportunity to join a firm, right? Once we join a firm, uh, I may end up joining a lower quality of firm because I'm just a BCom. Samarth and a Samyak may probably join a Morgan Stanley or a JP Morgan because your series, you've done that hard work to become a MBA from Ivy League or become a gold medalist. But once you join, all of us are at the same starting point. Okay? If I love what I am doing, whether I like it or not, you will see me putting extra hours. Why? When we were playing, we never used to look at the watch. Arey yaar, 9 se 5 bahut khel liya. No, I want to play more. I want to play more. I want to play more. Our parents would come and say, "Chalo gharam," right? That is what somebody who loves this work will put in. Whereas people who don't love what they do will look at the clock. They'll do what they have to do. Will go back. Over a period of time, your peers will see this. They will notice this in the quality of your output. And that's where you begin to rise. That's where a Chirag Negandhi becomes a CEO of Axis. And which is why I tell people, take your time, experiment, but be honest. When you are doing something which you are not loving or liking, change. And it's okay to experiment. Nobody cares about your CV. You have taken 3 jobs. When you go and honestly tell them why you have taken those 3 jobs, why did you change so often, they will appreciate that. So I keep telling this to youngsters, don't be in a hurry to figure out what should I do. Take your time. Because till you figure out this is something that you love to do, life will be a pain. Because you will be spending 8-10 hours working. And if that work is not fun, it sucks, yeah.
There will be one aha moment when you are working and you realize, yes, this is what I want to do, and I think that will just change your entire life. Yeah, I totally agree.
And actually, Prashant, I think this makes a lot more sense given that I graduated from a top B school last year and I'm seeing my colleagues and counterparts, they are just switching jobs. But, when you're looking at it from a third person's perspective, you're like, what the hell is he or she doing? Like, who switches so many jobs? But this layering, makes it all the more clear. So, Prashant, in the conclusion notes of our conversation, just two more questions, which I think a lot of people would be wanting to hear from you. A, do we expect some venture from you sometime in the future, say 5 years, 10 years, etc.? And B, what would you leave the listeners with in terms of, some tips from you on biohacking and, some good books that would improve one's relationship with money and personal finance?
So my ex-boss Kishore Biyani had made two movies. And the answer to your first question, will there be a venture from Prashant going forward, is the title of this first movie, starring Hrithik Roshan, Saif Ali Khan, and Isha Deol. The name of the movie was Na Tum Jano Na Hum. So I don't know yet, but I never say never. One thing is there, yeah, I will always be entrepreneurial at heart. So whether I do a venture or not, everything I will do is I bat on the front foot. I used to play cricket for my school, and so yeah, I don't like to go on the back foot for in life. I don't know whether I will get out. I don't know whether I will hit a six. But one thing is for certain, I will bat on the front foot. So who knows where that batting takes me. Uh, in terms of, yeah, one thought that I will leave people behind with is, yeah, it's a beautiful quote that I read long time back, that we all have two lives. uh, we only realize that when we realize that we have only one left. We really live that life when we realize that we have only one left. So that's what my big picture thinking has been here. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in reincarnation. So for me, one life, and I want to live this world a better place than what I inherited. And it not need not be carbon emission and pollution and stuff like that. Can I share my learnings from this world to other to make it a better place? There are multiple ways to contribute. So I will just tell people that live life fullest, give back. Giving back could be in multiple ways. It does not mean charity. It could be just helping somebody. Because I did not have a father, if I today start writing the number of people, who have helped me, probably it will be this fat a book. And I know how grateful I am to each one of them. So I just feel, yeah, live life, enjoy life, give back, uh, take life and make the most of it. Yeah, play on the front foot. Yeah, what's the point of playing on the back foot? That's one thing that I will want to share with your audience.
The bonus question, like, just give us like two three good book recommendations, because I see you read a lot and it's evident. So like we both love to read, and we always ask what are the three top books to anyone I meet who's like an intellect, who's done something. So I always ask them, like, if there is any book recommendation you give. So even in interviews, if I'm going for any interview, my last question to like the interviewer would be if any good book recommendations. So this is like a bonus question. If you can recommend two, three good books.
Uh, so yeah, this is a tough question to answer. It's like, we started this conversation on Calcutta, so let's end it on Calcutta. It's like you've called me to Calcutta and you are asking Prashant, what are the three things that you want to eat? I'm sorry, I can't eat three things in Calcutta. I want to eat puchka, I want to eat gudi, I want to eat, Victoria Vada, I want to eat at Jyoti Vihar, I want to go to barbecue, I want to go to share stock market, I want to go to Balwant's chai. So it's a tough question, but see, reading, in my view, is very individualistic. Uh, uh, so the way I look at my reading style is, I like to explore. So if there is something that I find interesting, I will pick up the book. Uh, If I don't like it, I will shut it down and put it back also. It's not that I have to, it's a must that you picked up the book, so you have to finish. So from the world of finance, if I have to recommend one book, and I think it's more like a Bible, it should be. It has to do a lot more with the mindset around making money. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I will strongly recommend that book. We spoke about longevity, we spoke about health. If there is one book that I have to recommend, then that it is going to be a book called Life Force by Tony Robbins, Peter Diamandis, and Robert Haredi. If there is a general book that you want, which will either give your life either a meaning, or it will tell you, or take you in a different zone, help you look at life differently, take risk. I would say you can read either of the two. One could be Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. It's a very thin book. You will probably read it in a day's time. But if you read that, and I read that book every 6 months, because every 6 months you read, it teaches you something else. Or you can read absolute no-brainer by Viktor Frankl called A Man's Search for Meaning. It just tells you, if you are that guy, could even in those circumstances uh, see hope, see light. Who the hell are we to get depressed at small challenges in life? So these would be some of my recommendations. But there are some mind-boggling book, right? We spoke about why I want people to. So I always tell people that be a Times of India, don't be an Economic Times. Be a generalist, not a specialist. There is a brilliant book written by uh, David Epstein called Range. Absolutely mind-boggling. Uh, Great, again, remarkable book. Future is faster than you think. I can go on and on and on. Right? So it's personal choice here.
So coincidentally, I'm reading Man's Search for Meaning as we speak, and I've just like finished 50
Amazing.
odd pages. It's amazing. Like what they have gone through, I just feel like what happened to them, like this guy still survived. It's really good, and obviously, Psychology of Money was one of my favorite reads last year. 2021's favorite books for me for was Psychology of Money. So yeah, I totally agree. Range is something I couldn't finish honestly. I started it, but I don't know. I couldn't just complete it. But on the flip side, Malcolm Gladwell's like book, which is just the opposite. I don't recollect the name. I finished it somehow, but that was a good book. I couldn't finish it, but yeah, amazing recommendations. I'll surely pick up all of them, like which I haven't read. So thank you so much for those.
Also, thank you so much, Prashant, for taking out time. And I think I can personally say that if I don't know if others are waiting or not, but I am surely waiting for one venture and one more venture and one six or a knock from your side.
Keeping fingers crossed, my friend. Thank you so much for